Welcome to Board Gamers Anonymous, a podcast about gamers and the insane fun we have at the table together. This is Anthony.
And this is Dan.
This is Kim.
Hey, this is Chris.
All right, welcome to episode 10. We're at the 1-0, double digits, guys.
I know, it's our paper anniversary.
Yeah, we actually did them all consecutively. We didn't even skip a week.
I know, which is pretty awesome. I'm definitely liking this.
Are we going to do a flashback episode now?
I think we should.
Yeah, I mean, we're halfway through the season, right?
Yeah.
The writers need a break.
That's right. Do a clip show.
Now, our next episode will be in 16 weeks from now, when you pretty much forget everything that we talked to up until this point, and then we recap it in 18 seconds to get you ready.
That's right.
Exactly, and we'll assume you're very dumb and had not listened to any of these, even if you've listened to them all twice. So.
Yeah. And we can leave some dangling plot threads that we just never address, because, it's a couple months later, and who cares?
I think we should do that. At the end of the episode, should have a cliffhanger.
Yeah, I do like that.
Yeah.
Extra Life is 2 weeks from now. 1 week.
Yeah.
Extra Life is 1 week from now.
Yeah, by the time this releases, it's going to be just hours and hours.
We'll be counting down by hours. You'll have a clock on the wall.
I think we should. I mean, if they have those things for Friday Night Magic and when a new movie or something comes out. Like, remember when Halo was coming out in the stores? 34 days, 11 hours, and 6 minutes. We need one of those clocks.
But yeah, it's 1 week from now, and we're in the final preparation stage. I have all the raffle things in. We have an auction getting put together. We have a schedule of games that is now up. You can take a look and see what we're going to play and when. You can sign up for those if slots are open, if you're in the area.
And we also have the listing of all our prizes for the raffle, and we're also going to have a video segment showing the same thing. So there's going to be tons of prizes. So I know for a lot of people that don't live on the island, the idea of coming to Staten Island for anything is usually not regarded as the highest honor. But there's going to be tons of games, tons of prizes, really good times. So I think just once you got to kind of put away that of crossing the bridge and coming over. But if you're in the area, you should definitely come by our Myriad games.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be open at 10 a.m. November 2nd, Saturday. And, of course, 25 hours. So we'll be there until 11 a.m. Sunday. You can stop by any time. We're going to be there all day.
Yeah, we'll be collecting donations. And if you like the podcast, we'll actually be recording live at the store.
Yeah, we're going to try to record periodically throughout the day, kind of like updates on the event, what games we're playing, what we're giving away, how everybody's doing. You might even be on the podcast if you stop in.
Yeah, and we're also going to make a highlight video of the prizes being given away and any special shout-outs that people want to give.
Yeah, it should be a good time because we're having a lot of people come from different areas to come together, and it's all for a great cause.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. And if you're not in New York, New Jersey, and if you're not in the area, listen up next week because we're going to have a special kind of online-only podcast raffle that we're still putting together, but it's going to be a chance for you to be a part of the event, and you could possibly win a prize.
Yeah, it'll be really great. So, just stay tuned to the Twitter and Facebook. Keep a lookout, and we're going to have even more information very soon.
So other than Extra Life, it's actually been a pretty busy week. On Tuesday, we drove out to Dunnell, New Jersey, met up with Andrew Parks. He had the launch event for his Kickstarter game that he did back in May, which I backed. And so we went out, Chris, Kim, and I, to the event, and we met up with him. He signed our game. He showed us how to play. It was a lot of fun.
And what's the name of that game again?
Canterbury.
There you go.
Yeah, we actually got to even meet Stephen Bonacore was there too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hate my job that much more now.
Yeah, it was great. I got to stop and say hi, introduce ourselves, thank him for his generous donation, which was awesome. So, and he's on his way to Essen right now. So
That is awesome.
yeah, he'll actually be selling Canterbury at the fair in Germany.
Really?
So that's where if you're in Germany, and we do have a few listeners in Germany. If you're in Germany and you're going to the fair, you can pick up Canterbury at the Stronghold Games booth.
Yeah, so in the unboxing video you guys put together, I saw that there was the German rulebook, and I was like, well, this is fantastic. I'll finally be able to be bilingual at the board game table.
Exactly, right? Yeah.
But only in references to Canterbury.
There's probably a good 2,000 or 3,000 words in there.
Yeah.
A depth of German, but really very specific to this little area, this little spot, just here, just playing this game. Just these rules.
Soon I will know how to say, did you put a farm next to the well? In German.
You'll be able to describe a 7th century city.
There you go.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun. We, he showed us how to play, but he also gave us a donation for the raffle, which was fantastic. And that's a signed copy of the game.
Yeah, this is a great donation because Canterbury can't be found anywhere as of yet. If you didn't pick it up on the Kickstarter, it's not in stores yet. So this is a really great opportunity for you to pick up this game, which is currently in a limited run.
Yeah, and I think he said November 6th, which is after the event, is when it's going to retail. But I know, yeah, limited run.
Yeah.
It was a successful Kickstarter, but it wasn't a huge Kickstarter. So I know he was talking about possible second run and seeing how it does.
Yeah, I was actually checking on the Game Store sites to see what dates they have listed. It's just currently pre-order. They don't have the definitive as to when they can ship it out yet.
Yeah, I don't know if he meant like it's going to distributors on the 6th or like when it'll actually be in stores. Probably be online soon, but it'll definitely be after Extra Life sometime in November.
And like the one thing is, I mean, we got a chance to play it, and you guys played it at the day of the event as well. And we're going to be talking about it a little bit later. But I will definitely say, like, Canterbury it's a very different style game. So if you like Euros and you want to try something with a very different element, this is definitely going to be a really cool prize to get. So try to come out, because when that ticket comes up, if you get your chance of getting Canterbury, you're going to be a very happy gamer.
Yeah, this is a great game. So yeah, definitely, and stay tuned for a review later, because we're going to go through it more thoroughly. So, and as for the last event, we have Chris was in the Tackwing tournament yesterday.
Yes, I was, and I totally danned it.
You did.
Yeah.
I danned the heck out of that thing.
I saw your look of like, oh wait, so if I use this weapon, does it just blow up your ship in one shot? Oh, it does? I'll do that then.
Yeah, we got to play 3 rounds, and got probably about a third of a game in with one person, and probably half a game with somebody else, and came down to a tournament. Big Deep Space Nine, Star Trek fan. Bought a bunch of ships. Dominion was available as one of the open factions, so I picked up the Dominion ships. And if you're not familiar with Star Trek, these were a new race from a different galaxy that played a big part in Deep Space Nine. So I picked up a couple of ships, had like 5 minutes to throw all the cards together, not sure if it was going to work, and then was lucky enough and I want to say skilled enough, but more like I was lucky enough.
I was going to say, did you do what I did? Just like, oh, I like that. This thing looks cool.
Definitely.
Why not? How many points is this? Well, this does equal 200. I'm using these.
Yeah, this sounds good. I think this guy's great. So actually, my knowledge and understanding of the show kind of helped here a little bit, because never played in a tournament like this before, and I was up against some really great players. First round I played Frank, and me and him were kind of neck to neck, and I kind of pulled that one out. Then I got to play Vin, who won the last time around, and he had a great kind of Klingon fleet that was kind of bulldozing everybody, and I was able to knock him out and practically destroy all his ships.
Now I have a question. When you beat him, did he say, like, you disgraced his family, kicked open the table, and they broke out that 2-bladed thing?
So a little battle of faction.
Dum, 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 in the background.
So, yeah, that was great. And then was able to pull out the final win versus Ivan. It's a good time.
That's pretty awesome, man. Now, because I know you play a ton of games, but you never were into like Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, you never played those like collectible 20 games before.
Yeah, I've never been a tournament guy. I'm really just into having fun playing the game. So not really into much winning or losing, just really enjoying this process.
And that's the thing. I think like that's what gave me the look too. I think it's like a case of when you don't play that stuff too often, you're not overthinking anything.
Sure.
You're just going, well, these guys are cool.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, like, take for like Magic drafts. I remember when I used to play it would be like, I'm taking every card that's red and or black. And then it's like, oh my god, how come you're winning? Because my deck is red and or black. It's when you don't overthink the tournaments, that's the best, because you don't get thrown off your own game because you didn't have a strategy going in, so nobody can really disrupt it.
Yeah, you're definitely overthinking your own strategy when you have it. I know we played the board game tournaments. It seemed like if you don't have the game, probably win.
Exactly.
That seems to be the rule.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel now that you've played this about next month? Because you can't Dan it next month.
Yeah.
You're now experienced.
It's true. I'm not too sure. It was a lot of pressure. It was, we tried to squeeze everything in on the time frame, the small time frame that we had, and it really does take a big commitment because there's so many cards, so many ships, and it is such a large cost to put together this constructed fleet. So we'll see how it goes. But the good thing about what WizKids did here is that each month is a different story arc. So the last time we had these orbital weapon platforms, so if you flew by them, they just shot at someone randomly.
That's cool.
Yeah, whoever was
nuke them.
Yeah, so whoever was closest got shot. It didn't play sides. This one I think is there's a battle on a planet and you're dropping troops on and off and you're fighting on the planet. So basically by that, it allows for some different gameplay.
Yeah, I heard, like, it mentioned, like, you'll be able to rescue people, and Like, like if you have people like on the planet longer, you'll get more points too and stuff like that.
Yeah, if they battle, if you win the battle on the planet, that you'll get extra points at the end.
All right, so the one thing I'll say for like the next month Attack Wing tourney, just put together your initial team, put it in a box, and then never look back. Because the second you start going, well, maybe I want to use this instead, that's when you're going to start getting in your own head and mess yourself up.
It's true.
The more unprepared you are, the better it is.
And that's what's dangerous about these games, like you said, Magic and HeroClix. That once you get a couple of them, you're like, hey, if I only had this one would work with that one. And the next thing you know, you have a second mortgage on your house.
Yeah, well, see, now that you mention that, recently me and Kim did something really, really bad. We bought 2 of those Theros starter decks.
Oh,
of Magic.
no.
Oh, yeah. And, it's fun to play it again. It's like something, we haven't played Magic in a couple of sets, so it's fun checking the game out again, trying something new. I love the theme of this one because that Greek and Roman style with like minotaurs and harpies and everything. It's a really fun game. But it also comes with 2 booster packs with your starter deck, so you can have extra stuff.
Sure.
And then like open one pack and it's like, oh, okay, this is okay. And then open another pack. And then there was a pack that had the Planeswalker Ashiok or such. He's like this Nightmare Weaver. And he's awesome as can be. And it's a really cool card. And I have to get rid of it immediately. Because having a card like this makes you go, oh, well, maybe I'll just pick up a few of the land cards so he can come out more often. Maybe I should get another copy of the Planeswalker. Well, I'm going to make a deck around him. Now I need these rares. Here's $185 online retailer. Let me have all those cards for this deck.
Sure.
And then 3 months later, new cards come out. Oh, here's another one. So I'm going to get rid of this card so I can never fall back into that trap.
Gotcha.
Because it is scary. We were there once. We used to have like 10,000 cards. We had those pizza boxes.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was
Wow.
scary.
Wow,
Because you need 4 of everything. Because what if you want to make a deck with this? So our goal is to make it where all of our Magic cards fit in one deck box.
Sure.
So we can never accidentally have more than that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I went down that route like a year ago with Return to Ravnica. I was like, cards. And I think like $70 in, I was like, no.
Yeah.
They're still in my attic. I haven't gotten rid of them, but I haven't looked at them since.
Well, speaking about addictions, one of the addictions that we're kind of following is the Reaper miniatures on Kickstarter. So we've been giving you updates and really trying to get you to come out and donate for this because it's really an outstanding set of miniatures, and the stretch goals are just incredible.
Yeah, and I mean, anytime a Kickstarter starts out with stretch goals of everywhere from 135,000 to past the multi-million mark, I mean, you gotta admit that they kind of got brass to do that, to be like, yeah, we're gonna get all the monies, and they
hit 'em
did.
all. They
Yeah,
hit
I
'em
mean
all.
that's the thing. It's like it's not even arrogance or cockiness. It's just like we know what you want,
Yeah.
Yeah, now at this point they're over $2 million.
which is awesome.
It's crazy, and what's really fun is you get to see they keep adding new stretch goals, so it just keeps getting better and better.
And now there's about a week left. There's just like shy of a week, and it hits 2 million. What I'm curious about is this. So you figure it's like an average of like every like about 12 days on the Kickstarter, it's been $1 million. I'm wondering how many people in that last 24 to 48 hours are going to be like, I don't know. All right, let me put it in. And then it's just going to...
Yeah, because at this point, they don't need your money.
Yeah,
We're
no.
telling you because it's awesome. This is like a great chance for you to get a lot of great stuff for, $100 for how many minis now?
I mean,
like
at
100,
this
150?
point now, it's just so many.
Yeah.
So many. And I mean, even if, say you just like the add-on guys, you pledge $1, and then you're entitled to order any of the add-ons.
And the prices on those are great, too.
They beat stores, and they are amazing. Like, you play D&D, do it. You play any tabletop RPG that you can use these minis. And then, like, they even threw in the stuff like the Doctor Who telephone booth and just
Yeah.
all these, like, random, like, mouseling things, which, hey, why not? You play Mice and Mystics, make up your own heroes. It's
Saw
your game.
those.
You can
Those
do whatever
look
you
great,
want.
actually. I want that set.
Yeah, and there's an RPG tabletop.
$15, yeah.
There's a tabletop RPG called, like, Mouse Guard.
Yeah.
Use them in that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I'm looking for, especially for the board games. So if you have some components that are not up to the quality of the game itself, pick some of these up and you can play them in the game. I'm looking forward to the dragons to use in my Defenders of the Realm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to definitely be using some of these guys for playing, like, Mage Wars and stuff like that. Dude, Summoner Wars.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you could
That'd be great.
take some of the orcs, put them on top, bam, there's, your goblin and orc team. I mean, like, you can use them for any game, and they're so good. And the best thing in the world about this is, if you are thinking about painting miniatures, you pick up this Reaper set, you can trash 50 of them. You can mess up as much as you want. You can see what happens when you hold it up to a flame. You can use them as door stuff. You still have bags of miniatures for anything else. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I saw too, hidden in there on the extras is you can get, I think, 18 paints. Or
Yeah,
12.
they
12
have
for $18. So it's like a buck. I
a
don't know,
buck
it's
and
like
a half a piece.
third of the price of what you pay online.
Yeah, I mean,
And Reaper paints are good.
yeah, you get them like anywhere from like $2.29 to $2.99 when you go around shops and everything. But it's a great starter set too. They give you a nice range of colors, get a lot of mixing. I mean, like, I'll be the first to admit it. My paints are so, but with that many miniatures, I mean, more than enough practice. One other thing that looks awesome as an add-on is that case.
I just saw it.
Yeah,
I want that.
It is a very good price. And how many does it hold? I think like almost 60 or something.
It does not say, but I would say
Because I think it's a 2-tier.
yes.
Yeah,
which
it's
is
got
awesome.
Inserts come out.
That is amazing. You know, that is a great add-on. I mean, if you play any miniature games,
It
because
looks like about 60.
yeah, because one thing is like one thing I was thinking of picking up recently, and I'll mention in our acquisition disorder because it's going to be a surprise for you, Anthony. But I was thinking of adding that case on, just in general for like other miniature style games, because that is cool as can be. Worst case scenario, even if you play Dungeon Command, throw all your armies in there, hollow out one of the panels to put the deck of cards in. You got your Dungeon Commands with you everywhere.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Yeah, and some of the cases, you know, not in the Kickstarter here, they're around like $40, $50. They're not cheap.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely the Kickstarter. You know, a lot of people the first time around, they were like, oh, I can't wait to see if they ever do this again. Awesome stretch goals, amazing add-ons. This is definitely, like, this is the Kickstarter success.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, so that's all the news we have for this week. Essen is next week, I think. So I know a lot of the podcasts are on hiatus, I guess you'd call it. We are not. We will be recording next week and during Extra Life.
I mean, to be fair, we did try to do Essen last year, but then we just kept going to every bar we ever saw, and then we never left.
Yeah, I mean, you put it during Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Because the only thing better than, you know, looking at board games and everything is Das Biers.
But on the plus side, we will have news about Essen. So, and some of our acquisition disorders are games that we know are coming out at Essen. So, lots of news coming up, and you should listen to us because we're going to have new episodes in the next couple weeks about all these new games.
And if by chance you just listening to this audio podcast without actually looking at the screen, you may notice that there's actually different clips of the games.
Yeah, so you can see what we're talking about, which is extra cool with like a new game that maybe you haven't seen on the shelf before. You can see, you know, what it's going to look like, how big the box is, maybe what the art is, the component. All right, so that's all the news for this week. Next up, let's look at some of those new games that are on the horizon. And now it's time for Acquisition Disorder Corner. What's got our eyes this week, guys?
All right, so there's two things that I got my eyes on. The first is another game by Asmodee Games. It's called Berserk: War of the Realms.
I don't know what it is, but it sounds awesome.
Well, it's steeped in fantasy, so already I'm interested.
Good.
And, yeah, it's always a nice
Good.
point. Price point is it's $45 retail, so about $35 online.
Okay.
Price point is nice.
Very good.
Playtime 20 to 30. It's only a 2-player game, but again, you know, I like those nice little fantasy quick 2-player games. Now, here's where it sounds interesting. You're putting together, it's a customized card game. Already a huge selling point to me. This is a part that sounds almost like it's something with another game. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You're going to get 30-card Plains deck, a 30-card Mountains deck, a 30-card Forest deck, a 30-card Swamp deck. No islands, though.
Aww.
Yeah, apparently, and also 30-card Fire. I didn't know Fire was a location.
Intellectually distinct.
Yeah. I also didn't know Fire was a location you can go to.
Yeah.
They found a body in the swamp. I went climbing on the mountain. Where'd you go? Fire. I went to Fire. But, I mean, it sounds pretty interesting. You know, it's like Asmodee has a lot of great games. I'm really impressed with their pedigree so far. And, you know, I always love those nice little quick games. You know, you got two people waiting around. Game of Suburbia's wrapping up. You're waiting to get in a game of this, maybe Diplomacy or something. It's a nice little quick, something to just get in between. So it's definitely something that's interesting to me. And then the second part, which I mentioned before about that Kickstarter box, I'm looking at those Malifaux starter sets more and more.
Ooh.
Yeah, and here's what I'm thinking. Like, if I was to order one in the rule book, you'd probably feel guilty that I ordered those. And you wouldn't want me to have the stuff and not to be able to play, so maybe you would order an army. And then, like, maybe you would be like, yeah, I don't know if I really got the cash for it right now. And I'd be like, well, I'll pay half if you paint my army. So this way my guys look good and I got someone to play against. So I'm thinking I'm going to do that to try to guilt you. So I'm telling you now. So it's not a sneak
So it's
attack.
harder to say no. Yeah.
Pretty much.
I'm in.
Sweet.
The 2.0, the new stuff?
Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
does look really cool.
yeah, and Miniature Market has the Malifaux 2.0 items at 25% off. And I mean, there's got to be something to hit that $100 for free shipping. So armies are a great way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tempting. Those things are great, too, because you get, like, the one little pack. What is it, $30, 25 on?
Yeah, and it's like
Miniature
5 or
Market?
6 guys based on which side you're choosing. And I love the range of the characters in that game. It looks awesome. And I want to play some type of miniature combat.
Yeah, definitely.
So-
And they look fun to paint because there's so much going on. They're not like, I'm wearing armor and it's all gray, and I'm wearing a helmet and it's a little bit of gold on it. And it's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, that and like I said, those guys are also great for D&D. Like Malifaux is one of the few games you can double up the use of those miniatures for quite
Same size
easily.
base, right? So one game that I've had my eye on, and I saw them playing it at the Canterbury event, which I thought was funny because we were all playing Canterbury. But it's been on the shelf at Myriad for, I don't know, a couple weeks. But it's the new Days of Wonder game. Relic Runners. So it looks pretty awesome. It's a Days of Wonder game. The components look fantastic. It's that whole idea of, back in the 19th century, digging around for lost treasures and hidden cities.
Yeah, I gotta know, like, because I saw that component listing and it sounds awesome. Do they look really nice sculpts? Those pieces?
Yeah, the components look fantastic. I mean, they look really cool. I don't know a whole lot about how the game plays, but I know it's a Days of Wonder game. I know they put a lot of time and effort into making it look really good. And from what I've heard, people are really impressed with how it plays out.
Yeah, Days of Wonder always does a really great job with their components, and it looks a lot of fun. It's got this kind of cartoony look to it, but has a decent game to it from what we were saying.
Yeah, the art style looks like it's meant to just appeal to like wide range, like not just hardcore. But the component list sounded awesome.
Yeah, if you ever played Forbidden Island, the treasure tokens look very similar to that.
That's cool.
That's very cool, those little sculpts. Yeah. So that's definitely something I want to try out very soon. I keep seeing it on the shelf, so it's tempting me. That and Lost Legends are just sitting there waiting to be played.
But they're painted pieces, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I saw the game was like slightly pricey, but I mean if it's painted pieces, you can deal.
Yeah, I mean, the components are high enough quality that you get what you're paying for, I think. All right, so there's a lot of new games coming out in Essen next week, and we've been keeping our eye on a lot of these. There's, I think, like 300 or 400 hitting the fair.
My lord.
So, yeah,
That's a
right.
lot.
Yeah, exactly. So it's obviously you can't list all of them, and they're probably not all. Some of them are actually already out too. They're just officially debuting there. But these are some that looked pretty cool just from what we've seen of the previews and games we want to try out. Off the top of the list, Tosh Kalar has been hitting the top of Board Game Geek a lot lately, and I think how I read it described was kind of Summoner Wars with a Euro style to it. Yeah, so you have these cards, and they each have like various conditions and when you get to pull them out based on where resources hit the table. So,
Oh, that sounds.
I think there's 3 factions. There are multiple summoners, and you can summon different monsters based on these conditions.
Oh my god.
I
I
know.
think that sounds awesome.
It does sound awesome.
Oh my god, please don't come out before the end of the year.
Yeah,
'Cause I'm gonna want that too.
I mean, it's coming out of Europe, so maybe it'll be delayed just long enough so you can afford it. What is the other one we saw? The sequel to Agricola?
Caverna?
Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce that?
Yeah, Caverna.
So it's actually Agricola, but in a cave. So if you enjoyed those 2-hour-long Agricola games where you're farming to save your family, you'll actually get to do this, but now in a cave environment.
I think I heard a little something about this too, and there's actually like an adventuring component or something too, or something like that, where it's like it's but not just a reskinned Agricola. There's actually gonna be like a new element or two.
Yeah, they're adding a lot of new stuff. And I know you can play up to 7 now.
Wow.
So, and it's still 30 minutes per player, so 4 hours, yeah.
But once again, the tokens look great. You're going to get more animal meeples again this time. And Agricola really is a love or hate it kind of game. I actually do love it. We got a chance to play it last week, and I squeaked out a 2-point victory over Earl, which is kind of Earl's the master at that game. So I'm really looking forward to trying this out, because it looks like it's the next step for it.
Man, you've been like on a hot streak, really.
Little bit.
Taking on Attack Wing, taking on Earl and Agricola.
You should see when I played my sheep against his Dominion flit.
I don't know, man. I kind of feel like I'm want to kind of get a game of Spirium and now and again, see if that streak is going to discontinue or if one of us can topple you now.
Spirium, my one
I was
weakness.
gonna say, it's one of the few games I can hold my own against you in.
Those games are hitting the fair in Essen. Suburbia Inc. Pretty sure it's going to be there. They're saying it's going to be there.
And I want it.
Is it going to be there?
I think it's going to be there.
I think it's going to be there.
I
Kim?
heard rumors that it's going to be there.
I don't think it's going to be there.
Kim doesn't think it's going to be there.
Why don't you think it's going to be there?
Because it doesn't sound like it's going to be there.
Oh, that would suck if it wasn't there.
Is there going to be bees there?
Bees everywhere.
I want that game now. Like, I don't want to wait for it. I don't want to see any more demos about it. I just want it in my hands. You know, playing like a little more Suburbia again recently. I want it now. I don't want to wait any longer. And the other thing too is I want the stupid King of Tokyo stuff out.
Yeah,
Halloween soon.
section.
Give me my guys to play this game. I want my Halloween dice. I know it's silly or whatever, but I want these things out. I keep seeing pre-order. Gimme.
11 days. You have 11 days.
I know.
Well, Essence is the big trade show, so everything has to kind of wait around for that moment to kind of pop out. And the Suburbia expansion actually comes in a bag, so it actually fit right into your game, so you don't have to worry about dealing with another box.
Yeah, I mean that's smart. I'm tired of like, oh, here's a box that you're going to throw out in 12 minutes.
Sure.
Yeah, those expansion boxes. It's nice. It's something to hold, but it's completely pointless. You're never going to carry that anywhere with you.
Here's art you don't care about for the things that you're not going to hold on to. Just jam this into your regular game anyway.
Yeah. Make it fit though. Just make it fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like the expansion boxes. I do like the artwork, but it's nice that they thought ahead and were able to fit everything in the box.
I'm just wondering if it's going to be like in a bag though, if it's any chance of damages and shipments and such. Hopefully it'll hold up well.
Hope so. Yeah, like packet and foam.
Yeah.
Well, the cardboard in Suburbia is pretty thick.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't have cheap components to it, so.
Yeah, and there's no meeples to lose their legs.
Yeah, no spearing accidents. Well, that's only because you got crushed into mining colonies.
So thematic.
Yeah, man. I'm really hoping that when Essen rolls around, that we'll go into the local game store and just like bam, like 50 new things on that shelf of new releases.
Oh, it's gonna happen. Remember after Gen Con?
Yeah, that was good.
Like early September.
Oh, that was so nice.
Yeah.
Just walking in, and I want one of those and one of those,
Nope.
and I'll take 3 of these.
These are mine now.
Yeah, that was a really good time. That was when you definitely hit Titanium at Myriad.
Yeah, definitely. It's well worth it that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So there's a few other games coming out too, which I don't know a whole lot about. I've just seen them pop up. There's a board game based on Heroes of Might and Magic called Might and Magic Heroes because they inverted it for some reason. That looks awesome. I know nothing about it, but the board there's so much going on the board, and it looks like they took that game and managed to convert it to a board game.
Yeah, I mean, which could be interesting. I mean, I'm a little curious about that. I'm almost a little apprehensive because IPs are like, I mean, it really is the ultimate coin flip. You're just hoping.
Hit or miss, yeah. You have to hope that they pulled the theme and they're like, how do we build a good game around this theme? Not, let's slap a theme on it.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff coming out probably in the next 3-4 weeks. This will keep our acquisition disorder very busy. So
I'm really hoping. I mean, I know it's not so much a real Essen Drive thing, but I would love it if Steve Jackson has some information about the Car Wars remake at Essen.
That would be pretty cool.
I haven't heard news on that for a while, and that's one of the remakes that I can't wait to see.
Yeah. I mean, I know they're just about finished up with that Ogre, the Kickstarter, so they got to be moving on to Car Wars.
Oh my god, because that game was so much fun back in the day.
Yeah, that's so cool they're bringing it back. All right, so that's everything that's got our eye this week. Let's hop on and look at what we played. At the table this week. Okay, so what's hitting our table this week?
I actually tried out the new Thero set from Magic the Gathering. Our good friend Nick was able to play with me. I had a black-blue deck, and he had a white-black. And the black-blue deck was pretty awesome. It got creatures out fast.
That's that Devotion to Darkness deck.
Yeah. But the white-black was very weak. Like, from what we played 2 games. And whoever had the white-black deck just kept getting destroyed. We tried to get creatures out, but the black-blue deck kept either exiling creatures or, putting them back into the hand.
Yeah, and a lot of cards had that devotion mechanic. It's like, if you've ever played Magic, you're familiar with the mana symbols. Devotion is this awesome mechanic that they came up with where your devotion is equal to the number of cards you have out with that mana symbol in them. And this Devotion to Darkness deck has tons of cards that are black permanents that have like 2 or 3 black mana symbols, and then all the cards have Devotion to Black. So one of them is like the Devotion to Black. You look at your Devotion to Black number of cards from their hand and make them discard one. They lose that much life. You get it back. You get that many harpies. So it's so cool that everything you're putting out is making every other card stronger. Like, I really like that idea for Magic, and it's I mean, every new set they're always throwing in a new mechanic or bringing something back, but this by far is one of the coolest ideas that they had in ages. This is actually something that makes me like playing the game again, and I heard recently mentioned on another podcast about how some they just enjoy playing those starter decks just to keep the game simple, so they're not investing tons of money back in the game, and we've been having fun doing that again. It's haven't played Magic for a while, but it's still a great game. I just don't want to get too into it so I can still have fun. Like, I want to play in a smile, too.
Yeah. You guys have me wanting to go buy one now.
I mean, you should. I mean,
the decks look great. I mean, that's what I did last year. I started with one of those starter decks, and it snowballed. But the $15 you get to play just straight out of the deck, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's just say you get some unbelievable card in one of the booster packs. If you want to keep it balanced, you can always just be like, yeah, I'm going to sell this card off and then buy the other 2 starter decks, and then now you have even more range to play. Yeah. And this way you control that urge.
Because I really want to try out that devotion mechanic. That sounds really cool.
It does sound awesome. I can't wait to see what they do with it.
Plus, also, I think the best way to play Magic is to basically play a deck you don't know what cards are in it. So it's kind of like that random feeling where it's like, oh, cool, this card does this. And instead of, you have like a set deck and it's like, well, why can't I draw this creature or whatever?
Yeah, like you don't want to get upset that you're not getting that card. I gotta admit, it is really cool when you just get that deck and just start shuffling it, because there's nothing quite like that smile that creeps on your face. You're like, this guy is awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. With Magic especially, you don't really get the feel of how good you are at strategy until you're pulling random cards out. If you know exactly what's coming, you have a plan in place.
Yeah. And again, I like that idea of, not getting upset that your plan doesn't come together, but just rather see what you can do with what you got.
Yeah.
So speaking of card games where we were just seeing what you got when you start playing, Anthony, we got to try out the new High Command Hordes, which I was really happy for that. It was pretty cool. Legion of Everblight is an undead faction, so I'm happy that they're in it. Like, I always love my undead in these games. We tried it out. We, tried out some of the new units. I gotta admit, the Hordes has some interesting stuff. They seem to have a little bit more of a variety over the War Machine guys. I'm not too familiar with the universe of Hordes, but I know one of the decks that we had access to actually had tons of guys that can shift around on the battlefield. So playing against them, you got to be more ready, because at any point he can just jump 3 of his guys over from locations by playing in these additional units. And the guys that I were playing had all of their warriors were helping each other out. Like, one guy gave every warrior that didn't have swordsman this ability. And one guy was for every warrior he got plus health. Another guy was if there's 2 or more warriors, you can force one of your opponent's moves. So there was so many of these like really cool warrior technique cards in this deck. Like, I like the War Machine guys. They seem really cool, but the Hordes, it looks like they went for a little bit more variety. And it's getting me even more anxious to see what they put in that expansion for the High Command's War Machine that's coming out next month.
Yeah, they didn't go overboard. There's not like a ton of new mechanics here. It's basically the same idea of the same game. It seemed like most of the changes were more thematic. Hordes is different than War Machine for this reason or this reason, so that's what fits the cards. But the movement, that's cool. I mean, I think it's one of the things missing from the High Command was that you throw your guys out there, they sit there, you fight 2 or 3 rounds, and then someone wins that location. Now you're moving people back and forth. It's hard to know. It's more like Smash Up, where you are moving a lot of your people around, especially with some of those deck mix-ups.
Yeah, and your guys you were using the Legion of Everblight, and that was pretty awesome. You had a couple of nice moves going on, dropped a few more surprises. I like that it kept you a little more involved in the game. Like, you were no longer just waiting until you get to go to do what you want to do. You actually had to keep an eye out on constantly what your opponent's guys do. So it felt a little more interactive too, which is always cool.
Yeah, definitely. And it was cool the way that, say, I throw out a long range, someone who's going to an archer, for example, only had 1 health, but you had to kill everything else on the board before you could hit her, and she hit for 3.
Yeah, that was pretty mean. I remember that.
And there was a lot of those in that deck, so I was putting those down on every location and then just trying to get my big, the 5 health guys out.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm definitely glad I got it, and I love the fact that now we have that many more options when we decide to go for High Command.
Yeah, it's odd. How many decks are there now? Like 8?
Yeah, there's 8. There's 4 different factions in each of the sides, and what's great is picked up a few of those Ultra Pro deck boxes. Everything fit in 1 box, so I got the whole game all time. Now, the one thing I saw is that while me and Anthony were duking out to try to win a few of those cities in Hordes, you were playing the game that I still haven't gotten a chance to play, Revolution. So you got to fill me in, man, because everyone keeps telling me I got to play this game. Still haven't got a chance to play it, though.
Revolution's another great game by Steve Jackson Games, and it's a little different than his usual catalog of games. Revolution allows you to actually influence different people in town by using blackmail, force, and gold to be able to control different areas. So it has a bidding mechanic to it, so each player has their own little private screen and has different people within the town, and then based upon the tokens that you have and the tokens you win as the game goes on, those tokens will influence certain people. So this way you can put influence markers in different places, in different buildings in the town, and then score victory points based upon that. It's really important to know what token goes with what. So you have this little board that's in front of you. Some of the spots are red, some are black, and then some are red or black. Now, for example, red is force. So you can't place a force marker on somebody who has a red box for force. So you can't force a general. But you could force a shopkeeper. So it's a little thematic as far as that's concerned. But on the other hand, since the general will be immune to force, you could blackmail him. So the tokens are really nice. You get a little red fist, a little black letter, and then the gold coins are nice to have also.
I'm getting a little bit of a flashback to Nothing Personal.
A little bit. It is a little bit like this, but it's really a blind mechanic, so you don't get to see what everyone's bidding until it kind of comes out, and then everyone kind of groans like, you went there and I went there, but you had more stuff on there, and then you actually control the different areas in the game.
Now, like, how thematic is it though? Like, when you're like strong-arming a shopkeep, do you actually feel like you're kind of like forcing that tyrannical pull, or is it just like, oh, I'm doing this for a resource?
Yeah, you put influence tokens out there, little cubes, so it really isn't as, you don't really have like pictures of the people there.
It's a little abstract.
Yeah. But the board is really nice and colorful, great graphic design. There's a 5 to 6 player expansion called the Palace, which I think really makes the game excellent. Because up to that point, you only have the same areas again and again, but the Palace adds a different dimension because you actually get to place a guard. Now, if you have your guard in the Palace, which is just one little influence spot, then nobody can play the Palace, which is worth the most points in the game. So it's a lot of fun to try to get control of the Palace while swapping in and out of that guard position. We played this a while back. I think Drew was the first one who introduced this to us. The first game you and I played together, right?
Yeah, the first game I actually played at Myriad at all.
Sure.
So this was like my introduction to these designer board games.
Yeah.
And it was a great introduction. I love this game.
And you see this, like you said, Nothing Personal. You also see Dominaire using the same kind of mechanic about influencing certain people in order to get influence in an area that will score you victory points at the end of the game. Really simple, really fast, really fun. My family plays this game.
That's cool.
And they all like that. And it's something I like to try to get out often. There can be a problem where if you happen to be bidding against somebody and you pull up your stuff, you could get shut out for that round. Some people play with a variant that if you were shut out on a spot, you get your tokens back. Because, for example, if you do blackmail the general, he'll give you a force token at the end of the round. So you'll be able to build up more tokens as the game goes around. And it's fun in that way, but it's a little challenging, especially if you're not keeping an eye on the strategy.
And the tokens are limited, so you're not going to get, you can't like stockpile them. You're
Absolutely.
you only draw up to 5, right?
I think it's 5 or 6 as far as, yeah.
Yeah, so whatever you get off the board, and then you take the rest in coins.
Yeah, you can draw up to that point. Now, as far as you can have a lot of tokens if it just happens to work out that way, that you have a lot of force tokens or blackmail. I think at some points you could have up to 8 gold. I think there's 2 spots where you can get 5 and 3. But as far as the influence, I think you can only influence 6 spots. So you can have a lot of material to work with, but you can't influence the whole town at the same time.
Yeah, and it's cool because, force is always going to win over blackmail or coins.
Yes.
If it's 1 to 1 to 1. Blackmail is always going to win over any number of coins. But then if you have a force and everybody else has force, maybe you have to use 2 force or a force and a couple coins. And that's when the strategy really comes in. You have to pay attention to what everybody else is doing. Obviously, you can't see what they're bidding, but you can see what they win. And then you know what tokens they have. If you know nobody else has force and you have 2, you get 2 freebies, basically, because nobody else can bid against you. So that's one of the cool mechanics I like.
And it does have a little interplay, so you could play the spy and swap out someone's cube with your own.
Oh, that's good.
The apothecary, you can swap the cubes of any 2 influence spaces. So there is some interaction as the game goes on, and it's pretty quick and simple. Once you play the first round, you know the entire game.
Yeah, we picked it up real fast. I think we played 2 or 3 times in a row when we
Yeah.
first learned it.
It was a lot of
Usually
fun.
I played a couple times in a row. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a great sign, too. Like, if as soon as you're done a game, somebody's like, I want to play that again, that doesn't always happen. So that's always, like, a great sign of any game. When somebody's just, like, already like, all right, cool, let's set it up again.
Yeah.
It's a really good entry-level game
absolutely.
for at that level. So before you jump to Dominaire, nothing personal, try out Revolution. I think you'd be pleased with that.
Yeah. So I'd say it's a buy. I would definitely pick this up.
Yeah, this is a buy. I own this game, and I bought the expansion right away because it adds so much more, and also adds 5 to 6 players, because the original game only can play up to 4 players.
Mm-hmm.
You really want to play this with as many people as possible.
Yeah, I know you've played before, Kim, right? What did you think?
You remember me playing? I was gonna say you mentioned Anthony playing with you. You didn't mention me. I played with you.
I don't remember you playing.
Exactly. I was
Because you're that quiet.
No, I was actually doing pretty decent. I think that was also like one of the first games I've ever played with you. But
Okay.
you don't remember me.
No,
I'm hurt. I'm hurt.
No, I have a question. Did you win? Maybe he's just blacking it out.
No,
so-
I didn't win. I know I didn't win. Because I didn't like the game.
Did you come in a commanding last place?
I can't remember, honestly. The whole bidding aspect, and you really can't see what other people's are doing.
Just threw you off a little?
Yeah, just a little. And the fact that, like, certain people can't be affected by certain things, I'm like, it's an okay game. I wouldn't play it again. So,
Yeah, I mean, I gotta try it out, because, you know, it does sound awesome. Every time I look at it, I'm always like, anytime you can blackmail people, I'm like, this sounds like a game I want to play. So,
Yeah, it seems like it'd be right up your alley.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be a little challenging if you get blocked a couple of rounds, but if you keep an eye on where people are putting their influence, you get a sense of where they're going to go next, and either you're going to rush a lot of your tokens there to kind of stop them, or go somewhere else.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the key, is interacting with everybody else. It's easy to get into it, like, I'm bidding, and then I'll do this, and then I'll do this, and then back to I'm bidding. If you really aren't paying attention, it's hard. It's easy to get blocked out, and that can really hurt you. And then, yeah, you're not going to have a good time if you get blocked out all the time.
Yeah, that's always, like, that's one thing that's a little hard for people to get used to. The fact that, you know, your plans don't really mean as much when you don't get to place your units or your influence where you want to. That's something that's a little hard for people to adjust to the first time they play these types of games. So the fact that you said it's such a good introductory level, this would be a great place for them to start.
Yeah, and it kind of relates to Canterbury, which we'll talk about in a little bit, which placing the influence on the sections and then having enough influence to control the section.
Yeah, and kind of that solitaire aspect, but if you're not paying attention to what other people are doing, it's really going to hurt you.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I just want to mention is, because, you know, you're talking about the accessibility of this game. One of the games that we reviewed back in episode 7, Bruges, I picked it up not too long ago because we were talking about it. I love that game. Thought it was cool. Ordered it. Me and Kim actually played it with my sister. Now, to give you an idea of the accessibility that game offers, the most complex game that my sister played before this was Uno. Like, you know, we play simple games together. She played, we played the Penny Arcade deck builder with her and such. She's never played Euro-style games or any games where the cards are that versatile. She actually ended up winning.
Wow.
Wow,
And
that's
great.
she only beat Kim by 2 points. Kim was hyper aggressive in that game. She did very well. But my sister, in the last turn of polls, got this one guy where he gave you 2 bonus victory points for each different type of people amongst your town.
Cool.
She had 7 different types out.
Wow.
Yeah, she
Wow.
was just building people because she's like, I like a princess. I like this. A baker sounds cool. And it just ended up being that perfect mix where she dropped 14 points at the end of the game.
Wow.
Yeah, and otherwise Kim would have been leading by, I think she beat me by 9.
Wow.
So it was a very tight game. But just the fact that my sister was able, after one full turn, knew how the game worked, got everything down. I mean, that game looks intimidating if you just, you know, come across the board that you're building buildings, you're putting people in, you got all these little workers. But it's so accessible. So, I mean, again, I would highly recommend, if you want to get people into, like, different style games, Revolution, Bruges, these are great, great games at an entry level for people.
Yeah, especially on Bruges with, like, for Euros, because there are a lot of really great Euros, but some of them are just, they're tough to teach, they're dense, they're long. You get somebody in on Bruges, maybe you can move up to something like Agricola down the line.
Yeah.
Especially since you have the cards in front of you, so all the actions are right there. A lot of the Euro games are really hard to manage because there's so much going on the board with other people. This, pretty much everything's right in your hand.
Yeah, and not feeling like you're making a bad decision. Like, everything is good in that game.
Sure.
So there's no real way to throw away your turns.
Kim, how'd you like the second play of this?
I understood it more the second time playing it because the last time I played it, I was dead last. And that was because my strategy was just... I didn't even have a strategy. I thought I had a strategy because you guys remember when I was just hoarding those little tiny workers?
You were creating a little army too of
Yeah,
Beige
she had
Bruges.
She had like 40 guys.
My army of little rainbow people will dominate all of Bruges.
I couldn't remember why I was getting so many of them. I was like, oh, this is awesome. Now what do I do with them?
I think it's because you were stacking them up. You were trying to make like a human pyramid.
Maybe, yeah. Because like when I first played it, I didn't really like it that much. But when I played it again, and I almost won. I actually kind of like it a bit more.
That helps.
Yeah.
Winning is good.
Sometimes it is because usually when people play a game and they lose by like a lot,
Sure.
it turns them off. But you know that's why you got to play it again and try to like.
Especially with the Euros, because you really have to get a whole sense of the whole board and the whole game. It's not like a lot of a lot of Merit-Cherish games where you're just rolling dice and whatever happens happens.
Yeah, but what I did was, I remember when Dan played, and he just like kept on putting out a whole bunch of people. So that's what I decided to do, and I got that people marker, the third round in, I got like 5 or 6 people.
That's great.
And I tried to go for other stuff, but it was too late for Canals, because Canals, they both got 3 or 4, and it was close to the end of the game. So I was like, okay, I'm not getting Canals, but I did get the, what is that track you
Reputation?
move? Yes, the Reputation. And I got that because there was a card that I put out where... if I tie with somebody in like the markers that you flip over, you win.
Oh wow!
Yeah, you don't. It's not a tie. Nobody wins. I actually win that tie.
That's great.
Yeah, so I had that. That's how I got two of the markers flipped over. I couldn't get the Canals, but I got the other 2, which was pretty good.
And you also had that awesome guy that every time she moved up on the Reputation track, you get to remove one of the threats.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I like that.
That was so cool because every time she was like, "Oh, 2 fires? Oh, I get rid of those. Oh, I got 2 foot? I get rid of those."
Yeah, and he would pass me a file. I'm like, "Why are you doing that? You know what I'm gonna do."
Yeah, at the beginning of the turn, she just goes no and throws the 2 coins to me.
Throw.
Haphazardly tossed.
But yeah, I got like buildings out, people out, and I was just keeping track of what the characters were able to do. Like I liked sticking with people who had the infinite loop.
Sure.
Where their effects would stay.
Yes.
Then opposed to like people who would just it would be an instant and that's it.
The one shots. But yeah, I mean, she had like a dozen people in front of her at the end of the game. She got so many bonus points from them that, like I said, I mean, it was such a close, tight game. The only thing that messed me up slightly was I was going for the canal route.
Yeah.
And if I got to get that extra statue, that would have helped out a bit. But I just all I needed was a yellow card. It was like and purple and brown oh come on! Like it just didn't come up, and I was so close to that extra statue, which would have helped me cover the gap. I mean, I still would have lost, but you feel better when you lose by a point or 2 instead of like a dozen. You know? Yeah, but I mean, all in all, I gotta say, like Bruges, I think is quickly becoming. It's almost up there with Lords of Waterdeep as one of my favorite games.
Is it a 2-player game also, or just 3 and above?
You could play Bruges too. I mean,
Yeah, I would say so.
I liked it a little more. I mean, it only goes up to 4, so I mean, it's not like you need tons of people to play the game. I think with 4 people, it adds a little more variety, though, where you're racing for those leader, like being the lead of reputation and people.
Well, that's great. Glad to see that our review helped out a lot.
I think that's what it was. I think I saw her listening to her iPod the other day, and she goes, all right,
yeah, all right. I'll play that.
Yeah, I'll play it. Let's play it. Can we bring it over tonight? I want to play it with your sister.
All right, so there's one more game that hit our table this week. Played it a couple times. That would be Canterbury, and that's going to be our feature review.
And now for the feature review.
All right, so this week we are talking about Canterbury, a brand new game from Andrew Parks that's just launched for Kickstarter backers. I was one of those backers back in May and June, and I got my copy just last week. So we've played it a couple times, in addition to the one time we played it last spring when Andrew Parks demoed it for us. And we're going to review it for you. So the theme of Canterbury is basically we're the Saxons. We've just arrived at Canterbury, which becomes the seat of the church in England as the country builds up. But the original city was built by Rome, so there are ruins there. The grid of the city is still there, and we're building on top of those ruins. So there are a lot of rules about what you can build and where you can build it, but it's all empty. So you're building on nothing. You're building up your own. You're building up your own city basically as a group. So it's 6th century England. The theme of it fits really well. The colors, all the components are very evocative of that time. And the rules are actually, it's a very interesting mix of different types of mechanics. Probably the easiest way to describe it is there's no luck at all. It's all planning and building based on your strategy in the game. So the basic idea of the game is there are 3 phases, and you can choose from them every turn. There is a levy funds, there's a full build, and then there is a tax and build. You're going to start the game with 6 coins, and if you levy funds, you're going to take the number of gold indicated on the board. On the board, there are the 4 trackers, obviously, for your own victory points, the 4 players, and then there's a 5th one for the city. And the city's tracker is going to go up anytime anybody scores points. So it's obviously way in front of everybody. But as it goes up, there are going to be numbers beneath each quadrant of the score track. And that'll tell you how much gold you get when you levy funds. So that's something that will matter a lot in terms of when you take the money and how much money you take. So levy funds is one action. You get the full amount indicated on the board. The next action is full build. If you levy funds, you have to full build on your next turn. That's indicated on your player board, and that's required. You can build 1 or 2 small or medium-sized buildings, or you can build one of the large buildings. And we'll get to the buildings and what each of them does later. There is also a third action type, tax and build, and basically what that does is it lets you take half the money that you would normally get and build something in the same turn. So if you need to build something right away, if you don't want to stock up the full amount of money, you can use a tax and build, and you can do that whenever you want, except for after levy funds, because after levy funds, of course, you have to full build. So those are the 3 basic phases. You're going to do one of those 3 things every single turn. There are no other options in terms of how you play your turn, but there are a lot of things to consider in terms of what you build, when you build it, and how you build it. So the board is a grid of 5 by 5, and then there are 3 districts. There's a central district, there's an inner district, and there's an outer district. The central district is basically where the game starts, and the game will start off with 1 well in the central district and a purple city token. Then there's the inner districts, which is any square adjacent to that center district, and then the outside ring is the outer districts. And those 3 things matter more for the scoring later if you build a large structure. It doesn't really affect anything else, but they are color-coded, so it's easier to see which is which. And basically what you're going to do is when you build something, you're going to take off of 2 boards that are at the end of the table, one of many tokens that are available. So there are wells, gardens, chapels, watchtowers, merchant stalls, fountains, garrisons. Basically for every resource type, and there are 6 resource types in the game, there are 3 different building types. So the small one is just a single square. It's going to take up one of the squares in that district. The medium one is 2 square sizes, and that's going to take up 2 squares, and then the large ones are 4. The reason that you want to go for the larger buildings is because every time you put a building down, you put one of your tokens on that district, and that's going to go towards who controls that district later when you do scoring. But if you do a medium building, for example, every district that is adjacent to where you place that medium building is going to get one of your cubes. So if you drop down a fountain, which is water, on one space that doesn't have any water, any space that's directly adjacent to that district that you just placed the fountain will also get your token. So you can get a lot of tokens really quickly out on the board, which will affect scoring a lot later on down the line. The interesting thing, though, is that you can only build these in order. So if you want to build a garrison, for example, which is the 4th of the resources, you have to wait until there is water, grain, and religion on the board. If those 3 things are not marked off with people's tokens, you can't build the garrison. You don't need the buildings someone's token just needs to be there. So if someone built a fountain next door, and you want to build a garden, which is the next one up on the track, it's the grain. You can build the garden because there's already a water token on that square because someone built the fountain next door. So that's an interesting way of chaining things. You can, for example, there's been a couple times when 4 or 5 resources are already in a space before I build anything on it, which is a very cool way to either take advantage of that space, already having all those resources there, or to build very quickly. Now for the scoring, how it works, and this is probably the most complicated part of the game, because there are multiple things you have to do every time somebody takes their turn. Each of the tokens has 2 scores on it. There is the purple, that's the city. The city gets that many points as it moves up the track, which affects the amount of money everybody gets. And then in the black space, there is the points you get. That's easy. Those are how many points you get. But you also get bonus points if you break ground. And breaking ground basically means that you're the first person to build on any one district. So if you build a well adjacent to the inner district, for example, then you'll get 1 extra point for breaking ground. If you build a well and a garden at the same time in a brand new district, you get 2 for breaking ground. If somebody has built a well and a farm and a couple other, the larger ones around a district, but nobody else has built anything, and then you throw one down, you might get 4 or 5 extra for breaking ground. So it really depends on how many of those, tokens are there for control on that space before you build there. And so those points can add up if you do it strategically. The final thing that has to do with scoring is the King's bonus chart. And there's an extra board off the main board. And on that, you're going to track every time somebody builds any one resource. And it seems like a lot of, accounting, but if for some reason the board gets bumped or it gets moved over at all, the number of tokens on this board is exactly equal to the number on the main game board. So anytime you build a fountain, for example, and you put out, 3 water tokens, you move up 3 spaces on the water track on the King's bonus chart. You have to keep track the entire game. So that's the hard part. Every time somebody moves, you have to move up the King's bonus chart, but you only score that at the very, very end. So the King's bonus chart only matters the one time, but there's a lot of points on that board. So if you're in first place for any run resource, you're going to get the points indicated below that. If you're in second place, there is a second place point marker, but it usually doesn't kick in until around 8 or 9 on the chart, some a little earlier. So you really have to rack up a lot and not get first place. All right, so the flow of the game basically is you're going to go around and everybody just keeps taking these turns that you either levy funds, full build, or tax and build. But every time the city token hits 100 on the score track, and you're going to put a little purple token underneath the city marker every time that happens so you can keep track. But every time that happens, you stop immediately, whoever's turn it is. As soon as they're done scoring, you stop. And then you are going to count up who controls each district on the board. And that'll matter like how many tokens you have there. So the person who controls that district is going to get points equal to the number of squares that are taken up. So if you have 2 small buildings and 1 large one, that's 6. If you had 2 medium ones, that's 4. You'll see pretty easily on the board how many are taken up, but the number of squares taken out of the 6, that's how many points you get. The second place person will then get half that many points. And any time in this game you have something, you round down. So it's important to control a certain number of districts, but you also get a lot of points if you're in second place, which can actually, you throw 1 cube on a square, and someone has 6 on there, then you're going to get, 3 points automatically, which is great. So you're going to do that every time it goes around. It goes around 3 times. The second it passes 300 points, it stops moving. Everybody finishes their turn during that round based on who went first, and then everybody gets 1 more turn. So you'll have between 5 and 7, 8 more turns based on that. And then at the very end, you'll do that 1 more time. So there'll be 4 total scorings, and then the King's bonus. So there's a lot of scoring in the game in addition to the standard scoring of when you play your turn. So it's really important that whoever's in charge of the scoring track is really on top of things. If they're checking their phone or getting up or grabbing something to eat, this game, it's going to devolve quickly, because if you miss 1 round of scoring, you're not going to be able to catch up because there's that many things going on at a time. You really have to keep on track of the score. But that's really the most complicated part. The actual play part while there's a lot of components, there's a lot of things moving around, there's a lot of things to keep track of, you really only have so many options. You can only take you only have 3 actions you can do, and there's only so many tokens on the board to choose from. There are a couple other little things, like whoever goes first, which is the only random component of the game, is going to be the Saxon Prince. They get coins, I think 2, 3, and then 4, after every time the city marker passes, the passes go, so to speak, and in order, people after them also get that. The only person who doesn't get coins is the 4th player. And we actually talked to Andrew Parks about this, and he said it was because statistically the 4th player tended to get more money. They have a bit of an advantage in how the game plays. So this is just a mathematical way to kind of even that out. It hasn't seemed to affect the way the game plays at all. So it's an interesting mechanic, but it's not a lot of money either, because as it gets up the score track, you'll be getting 20 or 30 coins every time you levy. Those 2 or 3 extra coins aren't going to make a huge difference. So yeah, this is a fantastic game. I've had a lot of fun playing it. I enjoyed it a lot when it first hit the table, and I played the prototype back in May, and I was really excited to get it. So this has been a great week. I've gotten to play it a couple times, got to meet Andrew and talk to him about the game, got my copy signed, which was fantastic. And yeah, hopefully that it's going to hit the table or hit the stores on November 6th, I think he said. So, it's definitely worth checking out. And that's how you play Canterbury. All right, guys, so what do you think of Canterbury now that we've played it a couple times?
I gotta say, Canterbury, one thing is this. It is almost like medieval fantasy accounting the game. Because you do, like you said, you have to be on top of everything with the scoring. It could be really dangerous if somebody falls behind in that. That being said, the fact that everyone is always working towards the town makes this game great. Because in a lot of games, like take, for example, Suburbia. I love Suburbia to death, but if you have a bad engine and you start falling behind in currency, if somebody else is getting 12 per turn, you're getting 2 per turn, it's almost impossible to catch up. Canterbury, the money is always communal. So everyone's success is adding to that pool. So even if you made a few bad decisions later on, you're getting that economic advantage to be able to at least make better decisions later. You're never sitting there penniless going, well, I made a wrong play 15 turns ago. Now I'm suffering for the next hour.
The lack of an engine is very cool. The game is its own engine. That's a really great idea, and it makes it so you really just focus on the building of the city, which is one of the most fun parts of the game. Like if he threw another mechanic in there where I had to figure out a way to make my own money, I'm not sure I would enjoy this game as much as I do.
And you wouldn't want to see the town prosper as much because your personal growth would be more important than town growth. Yeah. So I love that element of how it comes together.
Yeah, it's really well laid out. It's a lot of work went into this. I know he said he's worked on it for a lot of years, and he was just finally getting it out. It's very well balanced. Everything seems to work very well. It doesn't seem like anybody has an advantage necessarily based on anything. Like if you get out the most wells, or if you run after this resource, or you get the inner districts, it doesn't seem to matter. It's really about how you do it as a whole.
And that's the thing too. Like when you were mentioning about on the King's leaderboard, where it's not even like if you have more wells than anyone else. Like again with Suburbia, you have 8 residentials, I have 9. I get those 20 points. Period. In this game, based on how far you are on that track is how many bonus points you get. So say you just really like doing farms and you build farms everywhere, you can get like 10 bonus or 12 bonus from having that many farms, while second place may only get 1 because he only built 6 or 7.
But there is second place scoring there too, and also second place scoring as far as the board's concerned.
Yeah, which is great too, because I mean, if you were 1 point behind somebody, you still get something. I mean, it's not nearly as many, but it's still something, which is nice, as opposed to the usual game rule of, sorry, you're 1 short. You get nothing. Good day, sir.
Yeah. I mean, I think that second player thing could work really well. I mean, there was a couple times yesterday, I think, because you and I were playing with off the lot of the same squares, where you would have, 5 of your tokens on there for, influence, and I would throw down 1. Because you'd built 6 on it. And I was like, all right, I'm going to get 3 points, so 1.
Yeah.
It's an easy 3 points, and you can do that throughout the board, especially if you can go in and swipe a second place that easily. It's well worth doing, and it's the same on the King's bonus chart if you just get up to 5 maybe and get 2 points out of that.
I think Andrew Parks signing your box made you lucky because you won 2 games since playing that.
To be fair, he signed it after the first game, so...
Still. His
Maybe
presence.
I knew he was going to do
It was
it.
his presence.
That's what set the luck in stone. Because the one thing that is also slightly dangerous about this game is you cannot get discouraged because I didn't come in first, second, or third. And it was a 4-player game, so that's always a little rough. and one of the guys left too after the second to last round, so that was even more embarrassing. No, it's just but the thing was, you got so many points at the end, and that's the one element in this game that's not in too many others. That whoever has the second most influence in each of those little city districts is going to get points as well. I think you got something like 28 points. You got a tremendous amount of points from just those city districts in the final scoring. So that's something to watch out for this game because it's interesting that you can never be in the lead and yet still be getting the most by having that consistent second place in every district. So most games you condition your brain, I need first. This game you don't need first. You just need to have the most mass.
I think that's honestly what I was doing too. Like I had a couple. Like in the beginning of the game, you're going to kind of lock down a couple districts, unless you just spread yourself really thin. But you'll go to one space, you'll pick a few, you'll get those. But later in the game, you can decide. You like, do I want to spread out a little bit and get some points over here, or do I just want to lock down these spaces? And locking down spaces, unless you've built 6 on there, unless all the space on that is full, won't necessarily help you that much more. If you already have the space, putting down 2 more tokens there isn't going to help you. So you might as well go somewhere else and get second place.
Yeah, what I really liked about this game was you were always scoring points no matter what you were doing. So it never felt like you, like Dan was saying earlier, made a bad move as far as money was concerned. But even if you place a 1-point building and you put down a well, you were breaking ground. You get an additional point. Your victory point track marker was moving up top. You could do a lot of different things. So there was the scoring for the token, the scoring for where it broke, the scoring if the token was a middle size or a large size, because then that spread influence, and then the top track. So a lot of ways to score points, and then like you said earlier, when it comes back around to that kind of like go, kind of first spot, then you score points additionally. So throughout the whole game, a lot of scoring is going on, and really after that first turn, the game really speeds up.
Now, that's one thing that, again, that's so different about this game. Most of the games have a consistent pace where, it's almost like everything is the same build-up. Oh, you have a soldier. Now you both have 2. Now you both have this unit. Like, you feel that steady build-up in games. In this game, you can't really play a slow style because the game ends when the city district passes 3 full laps. Now, if you're like, oh, I'm going to try to drag it out to pick up bonus points at the end, there's also a limited number of each buildings. Once somebody builds at the 4-square farm, that's it. They're done. There's no more left in the game. So if you try to like turtle play it a little, where you're like, oh, I'm just going to keep trying to build bank and I'm going to do a big move at the end, there may not be a big move for you to do at the end. And even if you're picking up, well, I'm going to get a well, city only moves up 1. Chris goes, I'm buying the biggest market. The city track goes up 29.
Yeah, and that happened, I think, the second time around the board. Vin and Chris both picked up a big one, and it went up 60 points.
Yeah.
Bam. So, like, halfway around the board in, like, half a round.
Yeah, like, our first time around the board took, like, 30 minutes. The second time around the board was, like, about 20 or so. And then the last time around the board was, like, 8 minutes. Because it was, like, bam, 15, bam, 25, bam. And it was just gigantic move, which it was... And it's funny, because you start getting that panic in your chest. You're like, wait, what happened? I got 29, 20, oh, my God, that's 30. Like, you start feeling that flutter of, can I pull this out? And that was something that was really interesting, too. You're so calm and passive for the first 2 rounds. You're like, I can take my time. Then the last one, you just feel, you start feeling the tightness where you're like desperate to get those big buildings because there's such, like they can really shift the balance. And the fact that you put your 5 influence anywhere on the board, that lets you get into those zones that you may have not had before and make a power play at the very end.
Yeah. I should just say, though, like in terms of strategy, those big buildings, they're awesome, but I've yet to play one. And I scored just fine. And he was actually telling us that most of the time it's the people who play those don't win because you're trying to find a way to fit them in somewhere. Maybe you're shoving them in a place they shouldn't go. They don't fit your total strategy. It's the medium buildings that can really make or break your city.
And the other thing, too, is based on the way that game is designed where, you might be forced to buy one of those big buildings and then you got to put it in a city district. Somebody comes swooping along. They drop 2 small buildings. And now they're dominating. So you gave them 6 points. You're only getting 3. Or if somebody else gets more squares there by, again, building those big buildings, dropping their tiles, now you're getting none. So you may have gotten a one-time jump that really helped out, but for the rest of the game, you're seeing nothing from it. And I mean, again, it's interesting that the game gives you, this is the mega unit, but it's not, you won the game, here you go. It's, did you play it right?
Yeah, and the points, if you look at the points on those, they actually score based on where you put them on the board. The first two you can't put in the central district, which makes sense. It's like water and granary. Why would you put that in the middle of your city? But later on, everything can go in the middle, and you score more points if it's in the middle than if it's on the outside, which is kind of cool. But at the same time, if you look at the points you get, for example, with the town square, you'd get 35 points minimum if you put it on the outside, but it costs 40. If you bought 2 of the stages, you'd get 46 points. So, it ends up being, does it make more sense to do that so I can put my tokens wherever I want, which could have a huge impact. You could swipe in and get second place in a lot of spaces, maybe, especially towards the end of the game. Or do you just want raw points? Or you build up the number of stage points you have. You get 10 right there instead of 5.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one other thing, too, about this game. Like, it's a very smart style play game. Because almost every other game, like Agricola, what cards come out for the different stages, that can be a huge influence. You just might not be lucky in what was drawn. And, all these other games, anything with a dice rolling mechanic, you might get a bad roll. This game, there is no variables. There's always the same buildings. There is always the same start. Everyone's always getting access to the same money. No one can be earning more than anyone else. There's no personalized. This game is incredibly strategic, which could be a little offsetting for people. Like, I was in the lead for a few turns in that game, and I was like, I'm doing well. And then out of nowhere, people started lapping me. I'm like, what's going on?
I think that was one of the big concerns with the Kickstarter people were posting, is that there is zero luck. There's none at all. The only thing that's luck-based is who goes first. And you can actually pick up a meeple die that came with the Kickstarter. It was like a bonus. You can pay for it. You'd roll it to see who goes first. But that's it. That's the only thing that really matters in terms of who goes first. But so the worry then was replayability. And I don't see that as being an issue because there are so many different options, so different ways you could figure the board. You're going to respond to what other people do. Maybe you make the same first 2-3 moves every time, but from there it's going to be totally different.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you did 2 wells, and then Chris did 2 wells. I'm like, well, I got to do 2 wells because these guys know what they're doing. Chris wins games. Anthony wins games. I'm making 2 wells. So for the first 3 turns, I was following your guys' lead and everything. And then it got to that point where I was falling behind a little because I was trying something different. I'm like, no, I got to do what they're doing. And, maybe that's why I lost. I don't know. I wasn't staying in that same zone as you guys.
There is something to be said about not having that random effect or not having a variability of what actually takes place. So, yeah, you can place your wells, you can have a great strategy, but everyone else on the game really does influence your play dramatically. So you really do have to keep a track of what everyone's doing, and if they're placing their cubes in your spot, you're kind of out of luck there because that just changed your game plan.
Yeah, you got to be a little more ready to react, where it's like if you see somebody influencing, creeping into your area, you just build something there. Like, you just build the next chain, like, all right, I'm going to put a garrison because I need to lock this area down. Because that was one thing, I know I had 1 cube in an area, you had 1 cube in an area, and I put the big building. But the only thing is I knew that you would be able to squeeze 1 more in there and just tie me. And,
Sure.
it was horrible to see, but it was like, all right, do I want to hand Chris the points or do I want to not get any myself?
Yeah, those big buildings can be tough for that reason because they might be the best move you have, but where do you put it? If you don't have anywhere to put it, then it's not going to help you much. But then if you do, man, you can wipe up with those because you just drop those cubes. And they're really big because of the King's bonus chart. Because you get the 1 for wherever you put it, plus 5 more. That's 6. You're jumping up 6. Nobody can really match you, especially later in the game, on that point. So you could just jump ahead there. That could be worth like an extra 10 points right there.
Yeah, I was behind in water the entire game. And the first place had it by 3 points more than anyone else. And it went from I was getting nothing to 8 bonus points, just like that. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I had first for a while on there, and you jumped at the end.
Yeah, because you guys were doing those double well intros every turn.
Yeah, the well tokens run out fast. I've seen in every game we play.
And that's what was fun. That's what it was. Because you guys did the wells, and then you did the wells again. I'm like, well, I'm going to build 2 wells. You can't. Wait, what?
They're gone.
Yeah, and that's why I had to deviate my plan, and that's when I started feeling sad. Maybe that's the downside of being last place. You can't follow people anymore, and then you're like, but now I'm going to lose.
I have to admit, when you first look at this game, when it's on the table and there's all these cubes and buildings and leaves that are on each section, I'm like, when I first saw it, I was like, oof, I don't think I'm gonna like this game because it looks involving, very involving. But the second turn, it was just easy breezy. Like I got it immediately. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna build this and this, and I just immediately pick up a strategy. I think this is a good easy game for somebody who wants to get into Euros because it's simple and you can kind of pick up on it pretty quick. It looks intimidating, but don't be fooled by that because just let somebody explain the rules and then as you go, it'll just flow pretty freely.
I would agree with that. It is it's deceptively simple. I mean, you look at, like you said, you look at it and you're immediately intimidated. I showed this to my wife. I was like, oh, there's a 2-player variant. She's like, I don't know if I want to do that. Like, no, it's really simple. Like, the video that he made to show how to play it's like 13 minutes long. It's really quick.
I was going to say, when you saw that there's a 2-player variant, she's like, that's great, call Chris.
Yeah, right. I'm not doing that. Yeah, and the one cool thing I like about it is it's 60 to 90 minutes. First off, it's accurate, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. Like, he's got it spot on. Every game I've played is around 90, probably a little quicker once everybody knows how to play. But also, it just feels quick. It doesn't drag. It's not like, I've been playing this game for 90 minutes, why are we still playing it? It's, holy smokes, we're done? Like,
yeah,
that was quick.
If it wasn't so late last night when we finished, I was going to be like, can we do one more? But, it was like almost 1 o'clock. We figured we should wrap up.
Yeah, it is tough. And there's a lot of tokens. There's a lot of cleanup involved. So if you definitely want to have some kind of storage solution. The bags come in the box, so you definitely want to bag it up. One of the pieces of advice he gave us was to bag everything up by type. So you bag up all the water stuff, you bag up all the grain stuff. That definitely sped up setup. But otherwise, I mean, there's a lot to manage. So if you buy the game, you should definitely be prepared to be very involved. Don't expect somebody else to keep track of score. Like, who's tracking score today? No, it's got to be you. You got to know that you're on top of this. Because if someone's not on top of it, that could ruin the game alone, I think.
One thing I was thinking is, since I've been doing those $1 million ideas for different companies every episode, for Andrew Parks, here's your $1 million idea. An iPad app that each player's turn, you just tap the building that they buy. It keeps track of it on the leaderboard, and at the end, it automatically tells you exactly how many bonus points that each player gets for whatever they have.
I had that thought. An app would be awesome for this.
Why you steal my ideas?
Maybe you stole my ideas.
I thought of this like back in May.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay. Did you make it?
If I knew how to program,
we would not be doing this podcast.
Yeah, I'd be too busy in my mansion made out of helicopters.
Sounds like a Transformers variant.
It is. It's a mobile mansion. My other $1 million idea for any helicopter companies out there. But yeah, I mean, that alone would just be something fantastic. I mean, even if it had like a sliding scale or something on top of the board for the players. Because, after you keep track of everything, you still got to do, okay, and now we also do this. So, like, a little, like you said, almost like a little bit of accounting, but it's definitely cool. Like, you don't mind it.
Yeah, and a couple times someone would jump ahead. Like, whoever was the next person would like, okay, it's my turn now. I'm like, you got to wait because I got to do the scoring. And the scoring really matters because it affects how much gold you get. Yeah. So, like, if you just jump ahead, like, well, now you got less money because you didn't wait till I did the score and it just went up by 1. So.
Yeah, I think Suburbia conditioned us to the wait until it's your turn. Now you do things.
Yeah. So, what does everybody think in terms of review? What would you rate this game?
I really like the game a lot, surprisingly, because when I first looked at it, I was gonna try and stay away from this. But playing it, it's actually really fun. I would have to say it's a must-play. If you are a huge fan of Suburbia, the fact of creating basically like a small little city, getting coins from like buildings, this would be a game for you and you would probably want to buy it. I like the fact that as you go around, you're getting more money. And like unlike Suburbia though, where certain buildings only give you a certain amount of income, this one's like a steadily increasing income, which I think is like a little bit better than Suburbia. But if you're a fan of that game, you would probably really like this game.
What about you, Chris? What is your opinions on it?
Well, as Kim said, when you first look at this game, it looks like a giant Excel spreadsheet. And definitely could be intimidating when you look at all these cubes and where does everything go. And it's almost hilarious when you actually get to play the game and you have this little tiny board with these 3 spots, and that's your action section. And that's the entire game. You don't even have to really pick up the rule book. Just sit down for 5 minutes, see someone play 1 round of it, and you're good to go. So really a good introductory game for this area control section, influence. Like we talked about earlier, Revolution is one of those games similar to this. So if you like Revolution, you might like this game as well. If you've never played any of these games before, this is a good introduction for this, and it can be a play. Or if this is something you like, especially since it does have the history to it, it does have some nice graphic design to it, go out and buy this game. And absolutely pick it up now before it disappears for a while.
Yeah, you don't want to see this thing on eBay for $145 in a few months from now and be all upset that you didn't get it.
Yeah, Andrew Parks did a great job with this game, and he's involved with so many other projects that this is really, you could tell it's a passion piece for him, and it really shows.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say that this is like, we always talked about the games that you should definitely have in your gaming group. I would say this definitely falls in. It's a really interesting style of city builder, and it's so simple, but it's really deep. So you're going to want to break this out every so often. And what's really nice is there's no analysis paralysis. You would think so with so many options, but again, it falls into that Bruges category of, well, there's no bad decisions. It's just, do you feel like getting more points now or do you want to get more points later? So with the ability for people to catch up, a lot of variety, I mean, it's definitely something you should play. I'm so glad Anthony got it. It's like, so now this way I feel, I can loosen up a couple of dollars towards the Malifaux items instead of this. But this is something you guys should definitely get into your gaming group. I'm really glad Anthony picked this one up.
I played this, like I said, I played the prototype back in May and immediately wanted to buy it. And he was going to put it up on Kickstarter, I think the week after that. So I went home, I put it on my to-do list, and day one, I actually got the early bird price because I was like one of the first 10 people because I was like, I want this game.
And did you have like an alarm set in your phone?
Yeah, exactly.
Like you just
It's
woke
on
up on
Kickstarter now.
You woke up on Tuesday morning, gotta go to the computer.
Honestly, there haven't been that many games that I responded to like that, and maybe it was partly because I knew that it wouldn't exist if I didn't. It's one of the fun things about Kickstarter. A lot of the times in Kickstarter too, you don't get to actually play the game before you back it. Sometimes you don't even get to see how it plays. But having played it, having known that if maybe my money could make the difference in this existing, I had to. But even if that wasn't the case, I would say this is a must buy for me, just because it is. I don't know. It's just everything I like about strategic style games. I do like luck based games, but every now and then you want to have one that's not so random. When you want to feel like where you just control your own destiny, where you get to build out your own, your own part of the city, carve out your own influence. I love the theme a lot. This is something, just going back purely academically, this is something I had a lot of interest in for a long time, just English history in general. It's really cool to me the way he married the theme with the gameplay elements, and you don't even see it at first, but when he explains it or when you read the rule book, it all comes together really well. And regardless, it does look like a spreadsheet when you first see it. It looks more like a spreadsheet when you're finishing up because all the dots are on there, but it doesn't feel like that at all. Like immediately, you don't even see the grid anymore. You just see the city as it starts to grow, and it really has that effect on you as you see those buildings pop up, or demolishing and building new ones as the city grows, or providing resources to other districts and growing that way and building your influence with the king. It's just everything works together so well and so seamlessly, and the game flows so well, despite the fact it's an hour and a half plus long, that this is a game that I think anybody, if you like Euros, if you like area control games, if you want that slightly more complicated version of, say, Revolution or a game like that, you should absolutely pick this up. It's that good of a game. All right, so that's our review of Canterbury. This is Anthony.
This is Chris.
This is Kim.
This is Dan.
And until next time, we'll save you a seat at the table.
All right, guys, you ready for the next round of Canterbury?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get this thing out.
All right, sounds cool, man. All I know is my whole goal is not to be last place again.
It's a good goal to have in life.
Anthony, I think we're going to follow Dan this time.
Yeah. Dan, you go first.
Oh, great. That sounds like an awesome plan.
There's going to be wells.
Now I'm going to go for 2 wells in the beginning. Full build, 2 wells. Let's see what your move is.
Your move, Simmons.
Speaking of which, I think I will do a full build and 2 wells.
I'm thinking full build, maybe 2 wells.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy out all the small buildings just to mess with you guys. Every single small building is gonna be mine. You know why?